Hello, welcome to this week's video. Been a little bit of a gap between this and the last one, so apologies for that. But this is the first of my festive videos for the year. It is a month to the day before Christmas. So here's a Christmas Yule Log Box. It's a re-edit of a demo I did as part of the Woodturners retreat a couple of years or more ago. Hope you enjoy it, and leave any comments below. And if I don't get another video posted before the festive season begins, have a great one. Start off by getting that to round. Right, so that goes in. Just going to put that in loosely. Just move these out of the way. Now to help get it trued up, come back onto the overhead, just going to put the centre back in there. A little bit of pressure on it, but not much. And then I'll tighten up the jaws. So I've made it a little bit on the large side. Ideally we'd want those jaws to go a little bit smaller than they're going, but I think they will suffice for today. Now, two bowl spindle gouges, a 3/8 and a 1/2 inch. Because I'm such a way off from the headstock, I'm going to use the smaller gouge just to clean up this face. Just a bit of vibration. But all I need to do is to get these edges clear. And once the tool's got to about here, there's support for the bevel and I can push across. If you're not controlling it, you'll find that you can get it skating backwards. And you can hear the sort of vibration because it is some length, nearly 6 inches away. Now often on a box I'd want to undercut here. I'd want to undercut on the lip of the lid so that the outside will sit against the outside edge of the box. But if I cut it at too great an angle, when I put the texture on, it will reveal that and it won't get a neat fit. So now it's a case of hollowing out. So I need to come onto the end camera. I want to cut on centre, so you can see I'm just below it. So I'm just going to bring the tool rest up a little. Now you can drill a depth hole if that's what you feel comfortable doing, but I'm just going to use the spindle gouge to go in and scoop round. So I'm going in on the centre point and then just pivoting round. Now you can see a little bit in there. If I push hard in there, I'll start to make a little cone in the centre. So I just want to let it cut and then pull it round. You might get a better view from the side there without my hand being so much in the way. You can see a little dimple maybe. Now when I get out to here, if I have my flute open, I'm going to have an almighty catch as all the speed of that edge comes down and hits there and swings it round. So although you might start with the flute reasonably open, twist your right hand to close that flute as you're coming round to the side. Can do quite a lot of hollowing with the spindle gouge. Of course there are hollowing tools you can use as well. And carbide tools, which we might look at for the deeper hollowing. But if you do it with the spindle gouge, like I was saying, just make sure that you're giving yourself protection from that heavy catch by twisting the handle as you come round the sides. So that's just about deep enough, I think. I'm going for a quite thick finish because it's going to have all that texture on the outside. What I want to do now is square up the inside of the hollowing out at the moment. So I've got it curving round. That's beginning to flatten at the bottom. So one more with the spindle gouge, and then I'll swap to a different tool. I'm going to aim to keep this bar parallel with the bed bar, so it gives me an idea of getting it the side straight. I'm a little bit close with the tool rest because the bevel is catching the tool rest first, so I want support for the whole of the tool first before that goes in. So here we go, that kind of angle. I'll come back onto the tailstock so that you can see the cut. So just getting a cut established. And then slowly moving in. Right, let's see if I am doing it straight. So over the, yeah, there you go. So the oval shot, you can see that that's parallel with the side, parallel with the lines down on the lathe. Just got to clean that bottom up. But that now is the lid done. I could sand it out, but we're not going to bother with the sanding today. So I'm just going to find my depth. So to do that, I'm just going to use a pencil, put the pencil in. So there's the bottom of the hollowing. So I need to add on about 1 centimetre for the depth, because I want to put a little bit of texture on there as well, probably. So that's where I'm going to put my parting tool. Now, bear in mind that I am some way from the headstock, as I've said a couple of times already. So, not going to cut this with any kind of aggression at all. Parting tool, come onto the edge. I'm going to rest the heel of it, bring it down against the wood, and let it start cutting gently. Now, to stop it binding, I'm going to just widen that a little bit by another half. And then move forward. Go. So we've got our lid. It's a very quick, easy way. You don't need to take the wood out of the chuck, because the piece of wood becomes the jam chuck for all the other components. You can see very splintered. That's one of the features of the oak that I'm using. So just eyeballing it. Too big at the moment, and it's not very wide. I'm going to start off with a rather shallow one, and then use that to size the rest of the tenon for the lid to fit on once I've got it just biting. And again, rather than cutting straight away, bring the cut on very gently. And just trial and error, and because of the way it's set up, don't have to keep moving the tool rest, although it possibly is a tiny bit high. There we go. That's getting close. Yeah, that's very nice, snug fit, so I can widen it up a bit now. That's the kind of finish I want at the end rather than the beginning. But let's go with that paper washer to give us just a bit more security while turning. Onto the body. So, pick up the cut, work along. Now I've got about 1 centimetre's depth here. So on this cut, if I come onto the overhead, if I have the tool with the bevel not pointing perpendicular, well, parallel with the surface, I'm going to get skating. So perpendicular, or parallel, sorry, get a little bit of cut, and then I can open it up a little bit. Now it's up to you if on the end of this you want to keep it flat and smooth, or if you want to put some decoration in it to suggest the sort of roll of a Yule log. If you want to do that, so you can put some little lines in. See the skating? You've got to make sure your bevel is running exactly in line with the headstock. You can put a little curve in it if you want to, where there might be runs of runs of cream, or suggest the rolling of it. A bit like putting little coves in there. So pull that round. Getting a little catch there. Not doing it, concentrating enough. So when we've got the paint on there, we can fill those with slightly different colours of paint. So that's smooth enough, really, from the cut. I am just going to put a little bit of sanding on there because of the end grain, it being a little bit rougher. I'm going to use the Proxon. It's got, rather than a saw blade, it's got this carbide wheel on. This is a Merlin 2 rasp, which you can get in the UK from Classic Hand Tools, although they seem to be out of stock at the moment. Proxon make a rasp as well, or you could use the Arbortex saw blade that comes with this kit in some of the versions that you can buy. I'm not too bothered about it being super neat and even, because then it would look a bit unnatural. Although I have to say, the irony of putting fake bark back on a piece of wood does amuse me. It's always nice to do a little bit of hand work that's not reaching for a power tool and the screech of a brush motor. Right, so the paints that I'm going to use, if you get rid of some of the dust, I mean, one of the things about doing paint in a dusty workshop is you get added texture. I'm going to use some Joe Sonia paints. I'm going to use burnt sienna, and I've got 2 whites that I'll use just to add a little bit of variety in there. And if you haven't got ebonizing lacquer, you don't have to. You could use black acrylic. I might use this if necessary just to darken some of it. The 2 whites that I've got, a titanium white and then a pearl white, which has got a bit of mica in it, so there is a little bit of pearlescence with this one, which can add a sort of festive sparkle. 1 or 2 places here you can see I haven't quite gone deep enough, got enough black in there, but I'm not going to put any more on. So a bit of brown and Just running that along the length. That's fine. Okay, come back onto the overhead. Just going to, before I start with the pearl white, I'm just going to put a little bit of titanium white in and just work that into what's left of the brown to get some different colour going on. Just little brush of it where it's there are some bits that are a bit too dark. I'm going to put the darker brown on there. And then this is where it's good to dry the paint off a bit. All you need is a little bit of tissue paper. Rub your brush on a little bit. Just run that across. And some bits of it are looking a bit like chocolate mousse to me. I think I'm going to stop there and give that a little bit of a blast to dry off, and then a little bit of white over the top to try to look a little bit like the frosting of some sugar or something on it. So a little frosting on the top edges. Tiny bit on the end there. And if we look at my prototype, not too dissimilar. This is a bit splodgier, the white. I think I prefer the finer white there. But I did put a swirl, a deliberately messy swirl of squidgy cream coming out of the middle. So that's another little feature that you could add. And if you think when you've done a bit too much of the white, you just give it a little moment to dry, and then come back and dry brush it over with the brown. Right, that'll do for a little bit of paint for now, I think. So I'll just lock the headstock and try and get the lid off now. There we go. Remove the paper. A few little bits stuck in there. Okay, now obviously I don't want to touch this again because that fit is loose, but it's going to just sit on there nicely. I've got an obvious line up for the grain to match there, but of course it will move over time. And the other thing I've meant to say at the start was I'm turning this from one a piece of wood all in one go, and it will move, so it's better to do some rough turning, turn out that not to the finished size, get that not cut to the finished size either, and hollow out and leave it, ideally if you've got that time, so that it's got time to move and dry out a little bit. So I wouldn't go back to that, but this edge here, it feels okay. It can sometimes be, let me put it on the other camera, this edge here I'm pointing to, you've got to make sure you've got that cut cleanly, and actually the parting tool has done a pretty decent job. If you found that it is a little bit uneven in how it's cut, then come in with your spindle gouge and just clean across the face there. You have to really do it by feel. But, yeah, there's a little ridge there, and then it's slightly thicker there, so got to use that. Keep checking your progress. Just widening the cut. To prevent the tool from binding. And again, we've got the nice setup so that we can make our jam chuck for the base without having to move our tool rest. So we could measure that, but I'm just going to do it by eye like I did last time. Just a thin edge to begin with. On a little bit of a taper. Still not there. That's very near. Going to widen that, make it a little bit wider. Very close. Let's see if I can avoid making too loose a one this time. So that's given me something to aim for. Right, now I could give that a whack and then split it. I don't want to split it, but I'm getting very close now. So I don't want to take too much off. But I do want a nice crisp angle in here. Oh, and I put a little taper on it and then not kept the taper on long enough. I bet third time would be lucky, but we're only going to do this twice today. So just a little bit of help again needed. But all we're doing is cleaning up that bottom. So very light cut. This way you can lie your box down on its side, rather than have it standing on end. And like we did with the lid, you can put some little coves in there if you wanted to. Put a little suggestion of a swirl in there. Leave that to dry, and then we'll put a bit of white cream on the bottom and the top. So it's suggesting something yummy on the inside. If you want to give that illusion. Again, I'm just rather rushing through it. You can do a better job. On the lids, remember we put a few bits of texture in there. Use those just to swirl your cream around if you want to. And it needs to look a bit messy, like it's squidging out. That's my excuse for not being a very good artist. I think I did a better job with the swirl of cream. But on this one I didn't do the bottom, so this one you could put down on a plate on its side. I really should, I suppose, have got the swirl going exactly the same, so that it looks like it really is the same thing. Maybe that's a step too far with the verisimilitude of this box. But a little bit of fun. Put it on a plate with a little bit of icing sugar under it, and someone might want to eat it. If you want to give it a shinier finish, then put some lacquer on it. This one did have a coat of lacquer. It's got a bit more of a sheen going on. but I think I prefer the matte finish. He does look a little bit more trunk-like. And of course there isn't really any way round the fact that that join is going to become clearer as time goes on, as it starts to dry out. So here are a few still images of a Yule log box for your delectation. Have a great Christmas. Thanks for watching.